Dawn's afterglow beneath the eagle's standard. You awaken before the first glimmer of sunlight. Long before the world beyond the pila and tent ropes stirs. Under the eagle's wings, the Aquila, perched atop your legion's standard there, is only the soft hiss of dawn and the steady drip of dew from red-tiled roofs into dusty streets. Your cot is a rough pallet of straw, laid within a canvas tent whose flaps you part with gentle fingers. Even at this hour, the air carries the promise of warmth, the distant rumble of the Via Praetoria's wagon wheels, the faint bleat of goats being led to pasture. A single lantern swings at the tent entrance, its wick barely flickering. You rise slowly, mindful of the leather scabbard at your side, and the scutum leaning nearby against a wooden peg. The heavy bronze boss glints in the lantern light, a single heartbeat of metal, reassuring and unyielding, slipping into your caligae. You knot your tunic's waist cord, feeling the familiar weight of your pila against your shoulder. You are Legionary, one soldier among thousands, yet in this quiet hour you stand alone with your breath, your heartbeat, and the eagle's silent vigil. Stepping outside, you pause to run a hand along the standard's wooden pole. It is carved with the name of your cohort and officer's marks, each notch a prayer for safety in battle. This symbol is more than wood and bronze. It is the soul of the legion. Under its wings, you have marched across deserts and rivers, through sun and driving rain. And here, before dawn breaks fully, it shelters you still. The camp is hushed. Row upon row of tents fade into darkness, punctuated only by the occasional lantern or the moan of a sentry waking to relieve his comrade. Their voices, when they come, are quiet avenue, guardia, a greeting and a prayer. You offer yours in return. The road behind the camp is faintly visible, flanked by fortified watchtowers. It stretches toward the distant Alps, a lifeline of stone and iron. You move to the edge of the parade ground. There, the soft earth is marked by centuries of marching feet. The legion's tracks form a grid so precise that even in the gloom you can close your eyes and follow them to the command tent, the granary, the latrines, and back to formation. Every structure is built by your own hands, every stake driven home by your own hammer. Here, the harsh discipline of Rome takes root in clay and timber. A pale light washes over the eastern ridge. You inhale, tasting the Thames of campfire smoke, mixed with fresh grass. Breakfast will come, soon, pools of barley and water, perhaps a hunk of salt pork, if the quartermaster's stores hold out. For now, you savor the hush. No orders, no clamor of shields, no distant clang of armor. Only the slow pulse of the empire, waking beneath the eagle's wings. When the first lark trills its song, you turn back toward your tent, each step a promise that the day's duties, drills, patrols, repairs will come in time. But in this moment, you hold the dawn like a gift, a slender sliver of peace before the scutum shields the line. Before the gladius tastes sweat, before the eagle soars again into the sky of battle. Asterisk, asterisk, the silent routine of the morning watch. By the time the first sunbeam touches the rim of your helmet, the camp has begun its slow, orderly stirring. It is not the rush of the marketplace or the chaos of the city, but a practiced, rhythm-measured, intentional. You walk the perimeter of the castra, tracing your usual route past the sleeping rows of contubernia, the tent groupings housing 8 men each. The scent of oiled leather mingles with drying sweat and earth. You hear low murmurs, men exchanging quiet words, half awake, half-dreaming. At the northern watchtower, a fellow legionary stands motionless, his silhouette framed by the amber glow of the rising sun. He offers a nod, no words exchanged. The watch is a sacred duty. During these early hours, Rome's might rests on the eyes of a few. You climb the wooden ladder beside him and gaze across the open countryside. Olive groves dot the horizon like smudges of ink, and far in the distance, the outlines of a distant village cling to a ridge. A farmer's cart, pulled by a braying mule, rattles slowly along the decumanous road, its wheels humming over ancient stones placed by your predecessors as you descend from the tower. A breeze whispers through the camp, carrying with it a faint rustle of fabric and distant clinks of metal hints that others are waking. You approach the water barrels near the bath tents. The morning splash of cold water on your face is bracing, sharp. It draws you fully into the day, pushing sleep behind, like the closing of a scroll. A young recruit beside you flinches from the cold, but you suppress a smile. You remember your first days, your first icy mornings, when even the wind felt like a test. The cook tent opens with a grunt and the squeak of hinges. Already, the cook is stirring barley into a thick porridge, the smell earthy and warm. Nearby, firewood crackles in a pit dug low into the earth to avoid giving away light at night. You kneel, your helmet resting on your knee, and eat in silence as others begin to do the same. The camp does not chatter in the mornings. Words come slowly, deliberately. The silence is a shared ritual. After breakfast, your centurion appears, mountain of discipline, his vine staff resting against his shoulder. With a simple gesture, he summons your contubernium. One by one, you rise. There are no raised voices, no urgency. You know what's coming. The day's orders will follow the same arc as so many others: inspection, repairs, training, a short patrol. The order of the empire depends on this men like you performing their roles with care and endurance. Before you join the others, you pause for a brief moment beneath the legion's Aquila, which now gleams like fire in the early light. Your hand brushes the worn standard again, a bronze eagle whose wings outstretched seem always to be ready to take flight, not in battle today, but in the hearts of those who carry it. As the drills begin and the hammering of discipline picks up pace, you hold within you a sliver of calm carved from the stillness of that watchtower, the cool splash of morning water and the silence before speech. This is your quiet hour beneath the eagle's wings, and it stays with you, even as the day unfolds with Roman precision. Asterisk, asterisk, beneath the cloak of noon, as the sun rises higher, the shadows vanish underfoot. Noon in the Roman castra is a sharp, unmoving stillness. Time seems to flatten in the white heat. This is when the legion's body is in motion, but its soul rests. The clang of metal, once rhythmic and crisp, dulls into background noise. You wipe your brow and lean your gladius against a post, taking a brief pause beneath the long awning stretched between the smithy and the quartermaster's tent. The scent of dust, sweat, and horsehair mixes with a faint temps of vinegar wine from the storage amphory. No laughter, no boasting, no bards reciting tales. Those come later. Now, The men of the legion move like shadows deliberate, economical. You pass by a group tending to their shields, sanding the scuda smooth, checking for warps in the wood. Another pair is oiling their caligae, fingers moving in silence over the leather thongs as if performing a sacred rite. Further down the row of tents, an optio adjusts his parchment lists, noting supplies, equipment checks, and duty changes. His jaw works steadily on a dried fig, the only indulgence during these midday hours. He nods at words, just acknowledgement. In this heat, words are precious. At the edge of the training ground, a handful of soldiers drill in silence, spears moving in synchronized arcs beneath the eye of a veteran decane. Their sandals scuff the dirt in a steady beat thrust, recover, shield, advance. It's a dance older than any of you, passed down from campaigns in Gaul, Africa, and the misty isles across the sea. You sit for a moment beside a trough of water, not to drink, just to run your fingers through it. The coolness is brief, fleeting, but you close your eyes and remember the Tiber. Remember childhood days when your hands splashed freely in rivers, not in rationed troughs. You glance around to make sure no one noticed your moment of softness. A quiet chirping comes from the eaves of the tent behind you, swallows nesting. Even in this fortress of discipline, life carves out spaces of stillness. A swallow drops into the dirt, hopping toward a crumb of barley someone left behind. No one startles it. In this quiet time, even birds are legion guests. A horn sounds short, subdued, not a call to arms, but a change of watch. You stand, roll your shoulders, retrieve your gladius. The brief shadow of rest has passed. The heat presses down again. You walk back into formation, alongside comrades who know you like a brother, not by words or stories, but by the quiet familiarity of surviving each day together. And always, above you, the eagle watches from its pole, not flapping, not flying, but ever waiting. Its wings, even in rest, seem to stretch across your hours like a silent oath. Campfire shadows and spoken ghosts. As night falls over the encampment, the transformation is near magical. The roar of commands, the thunder of marching boots, the clash of drills fade into silence. In their place, the campfire is lit. One, then two, then dozens flicker to life across the compound. Each a tiny sun around which the legion's world softly spins. You gather with your contubernate soldiers, bound by shared meals, shared burdens, and shared silences. The fire crackles as dry olive wood feeds it, casting warm hues on faces hardened by years of war and wear. Someone passes a skin of wine. You take a sip, just enough to loosen your muscles, not your mind. The talk is always slower at this hour, deliberate. Not every night calls for stories, but tonight it begins. Sextus, always eager to play the orator, leans in and grins, his shadow bending strangely behind him. Did I ever tell you of the ghost I saw near the Rubicon? He starts. A groan rises from the circle. The phantom. Hoarse, the trail of silver footprints, the cursed whisper. The details change. The fear remains. The fire dances on his face. And for a moment, you let yourself believe that the legions are more than men, that the world around the empire is full of mysteries and signs. Maybe it is. Maybe it always was. After Sextus finishes, There is a lull. Then Gaius, older, quieter, nods toward the sky. My father said the stars are the spirits of soldiers who never returned home. That's why they never move, because they still stand guard. Silence falls heavier now. You glance up. You wonder if any of them watch you, those old spirits. Did they have nights like this? Did they laugh at ghost stories before disappearing into myth? Someone throws another log on the fire, and the sparks leap upward, eager to join the stars. No. One speaks for a while. You all just sit, listening to the wood pop, to the night insects hum, to the whisper of wind across the tent tops. It's not just rest, it's communion, between the living and the dead, between warrior and world, in the shadows cast by firelight. You see not just your brothers in arms, but their fears, their hopes, and something deeper still, a fragile, fleeting peace that can only exist beneath the wings of the eagle in the hours when Rome sleeps. Asterisk, asterisk letters from the edge of empire. When the fires begin to fade and the warmth slips into coals, another ritual unfolds, quieter than tales, more private than prayers. It is the hour of letters. Some men have none to write. Others write to ghosts' wives, long dead, children never seen, mothers who wait with fading hope. You reach into your satchel and remove the worn wooden tablet and stylus. The wax is scarred from many messages, scraped and rewritten, but this one is fresh. Dearest Aurelia, you begin. The words flow slowly, like blood from a wound. You tell her of the sun over the Danube, of the way the wheat here bends in a different rhythm. You do not write of raids, or of the boy who lost his hand in a trap last week. You write instead of the way the river sounds at night, how it reminds you of the stream behind your father's vineyard. You pause, then press harder into the wax. I dream of your voice more often now. Across the camp, others are bent over, their own missives, scribbling in the dim light. Some curse as they try to remember how to spell a name. Others smile faintly as they recite words they've memorized, written more from memory than imagination. One soldier by the fire isn't writing at all. He holds a letter in trembling hands, reading it over and over. You recognize the seal, a death notice. His brother, a farmer in Capua, killed by brigands on the road to market. The soldier's face is blank. The fire makes it hard to see whether he is weeping or just staring. No one interrupts. There is no comfort to give, only company to share the silence. You finish your letter. There is no courier today, but the simple act of writing makes her feel closer. You seal the tablet with the dull heat of the ember and slide it back into your satchel. By now, many are asleep or pretending to be. But even in sleep, the camp hums softly. A legion at rest is never truly still. Tonight, somewhere in Rome, your wife may be looking at the same stars. And though hundreds of miles lie between you, this letter is a thread thin, trembling but unbroken, connecting your soul to the life you left behind. Asterisk, asterisk, guardians of the perimeter. As the night deepens and the camp sinks further into stillness, the outer edge breathes with quiet tension. 4 soldiers move in a staggered circle along the palisade. You are one of them, tonight assigned to the 4th watch, the darkest hours before the dawn. The others march with you, spaced just far enough apart to maintain silence, but close enough to respond with a whistle. a shout, or the point of a spear. This, too, is ritual. The scent of wet earth underfoot, the whisper of leather straps creaking with motion. The woods in this province seem to grow eyes after dark, so still by day, but shifting and muttering once the moon climbs. Every shadow could be a Dacian scout. Every wind could be a breath from something hunting you. But more dangerous than the imagined are the real. 3 nights ago, a sentry fell asleep. It took only one arrow to remind the rest of you what the price of fatigue is. He did not wake again. His name was Decimus, and he had a laugh like a cracked pot. His boots are still at the edge of the camp, now worn by a younger recruit who hasn't yet found reason to laugh at all. You grip your spear tighter, gaze steady toward the tree line. In the stillness, your ears become sharper than eyes. One of the patrol nods at you, a silent confirmation. Still here, still alive. Every hour of guard duty is longer than the last. Time bends strangely at the edge of sleep. You begin to count your breaths, measure the beat of your heart. Let the rhythm keep you tethered to wakefulness. One step, one breath, one life, held on the edge of silence. Eventually, the torches along the path begin to dim and shift in color. The sky behind the hills bruises from black to indigo. Your shift is nearly done, and in your chest, the steady hum of duty remains low and quiet, like the distant hoot of an owl, like a heartbeat beneath armor. Asterisk, dawn offerings, and the gods of discipline. The first whispers of light slither across the eastern sky, chasing away the indigo shadows. As the horizon warms, the camp begins to stretch and stir like a beast waking in slow, practiced rhythm. You return from your watch, boots heavy with dew and muscle tight from vigilance. But there is no collapse into sleep not yet. First, there is duty, and before duty, there is the divine. In a corner of the camp, beneath a canvas awning that shelters a stone altar barely taller than a soldier's knee, a line is forming. One by one, legionaries step forward, heads bowed not in reverence, but in respect. This is not piety, born of peace, but devotion, hardened by war. Each man brings a token, a piece of bread, a sliver of salt pork, a small wax figure shaped from melted candle stubs. These are not grand gifts. The gods of Rome are many, and their ears are always full. But the soldiers offer anyway out of fear. But because tradition is armor against the unknown, your fingers close around the object in your pouch, a copper coin etched with the face of Jupiter. It's worn thin from being handled every morning. Your father gave it to you the night before you boarded the ship to Britannia. This will buy your way home, he'd said, or by the gods' mercy. You place it on the altar beside another soldier's carved wood effigy of Mars and a scattering of grape seeds. A centurion steps forward then not to pray. The others echo his words, low and in unison, forming a sound like distant thunder. You join in. It is not the words that matter, but the unity in the breath, the harmony in obedience. When it ends, the camp exhales together. The offerings are gathered and placed in a clay dish. A spark is struck, and a thin column of smoke snakes upward, carrying the camp's promises into the morning sky. The scent is acrid burning oil, charred barley, old wax butt somehow. To your tired senses, it is familiar, comforting. The gods may or may not be listening. but the legion is, and that's enough. Letters from the edge of the world, back at your contubernium tent. The first rays of sun finally breach the leather flap and illuminate the edges of the canvas in soft gold. The hearth's embers have cooled, and the others begin to shuffle about, pulling on tunics, adjusting belts, or rubbing sleep from their eyes. Some reach for the battered wax tablets they keep tucked beneath their cloaks, or folded bits of papyrus tied with string. These are not orders or maps. These are letters from home. One man fingers a scrap of cloth wrapped around a lock of hair. Another cradles a letter from his sister in Gaul, its edges softened by months of folding and unfolding. You pull out your own, the one written by your younger brother back in Latium, his handwriting still unsure, misshapen by the hand of a boy who wants to sound grown. It reads of goats, of olives, of the neighbor's daughter, who now spins thread at the village loom. There is talk of rainfall and markets, and a passing mention of your mother's prayers. Nothing in it matters to war, but everything in it matters to you nearby. Your tentmate Tiburnus is carving words onto a fresh wax tablet, tongue pressed to his upper lip in concentration. He mutters as he writes, "To my dearest Lucilla, I send the scent of the northern rains and the breath of my body that sleeps cold without you." You smirk. Tiburnus, the roughest swordsman you know, writes like a poet drunk on honeyed wine. But no one mocks him, not here. Not when distance stretches between hearts like the gap between stars. When the writing is done, the letters are tied into a leather pouch. A scout will ride with them at midday, slipping them among the official dispatches headed for the nearest Roman town. You stare a moment longer at your brother's words, then you fold the parchment once more, press it to your chest, and whisper not a prayer, but a promise: "I'll come back." The others do the same in their own way, no matter how many miles lie ahead or how many battles await. These letters anchor them to something more enduring than Rome's legions, the fragile, fireproof threads of love and memory. Asterisk, asterisk, the march. Before the storm, the sun now clears the horizon, and the camp heaves itself awake, like a great beast roused from slumber. From the praetorium, orders echo out across the rows of tents: prepare to decamp. Standard formation, half rations, number, fanfare, no lingering over breakfast, just movement, trained, synchronized, relentless. You and your contubernum break down your tent in practiced silence, folding hides, bundling gear, checking the leather fastenings on your caligae. Your gladius is strapped close. Your helmet is polished, though the shine hardly matters in the muck and grit of the trail ahead. With the eagle standard held high, the centurions march first. Behind them, ranks form 5 abreast, shields slung over backs, marching packs strapped across shoulders, each man bearing nearly his own body weight in armor, tools, and dried provisions. It's said a legionary carries the world on his back, and today it feels like it, but there's a rhythm in it. Your sandals strike the earth in tandem with thousands of others, and the ground answers back with the deep pulse of Rome on the move, through forests choked with fog, across ridges crowned with jagged stones. The column snakes forward, villages scatter at the sight of the banners. Even nature seems to bow, parting under the thunder of feet, hooves, and wheels as the miles pass. The murmur begins the old chant, rising from tired throats: Roma Invicta. Roma Invicta, unconquered Rome. It's more than pride, it's protection. The chant guards your soul as much as your sword guards your flesh. With each repetition, you remember who you are, what you're part of, and what you're fighting for. A storm brews on the horizon, both in the skies and in your orders. Whispers among the officers speak of rebellion in a border province, of blood spilled on outposts flying the eagle. You don't know where the next camp will rise. You don't know whose land you'll march through tomorrow. But tonight, when the tents rise once more and the hearth is lit in some distant clearing, you'll be under the eagle's wings again, and in that circle of firelight, amid calloused laughter and quiet fears, the peace of the Legion will return for one more night. Asterisk, asterisk, firelight. Tales and unspoken bonds. The camp is pitched once more, deep within the folds of unfamiliar hills. The terrain is rough, the stones sharp, but the tents rise as swiftly as ever order pulled from chaos. There is no true peace, only the illusion of it, carefully maintained. Still, when night falls again and the flames rise in each contubernum's circle, that illusion becomes something warmer, something deeply human around your fire. The day's aches soften in the orange glow. Oil flickers against bronze helmets and shadowed cheeks. Faces that seemed carved in marble during the march now bend with smiles. Wry or wistful, tonight Tertius tells a tale again, the same one he always tells after a long day's march, of a merchant's daughter in Antioch who swore she'd wait for him. No one believes it, not really, but no one says so. The laughter that follows is as rehearsed as the story, but sincere all the same. Marcus, the youngest among you, produces a small wooden flute. Where he found it, no one knows. He carved it himself, some say, from olive wood near Ephesus. He plays a tune from his village in the hills outside Rome, a sweet and sorrowful melody that silences even the wind. It carries across the tents, and for a moment, even the distant howls of wolves seem to pause and listen. And then there's you. You sit slightly apart, tending the fire, the embers reflecting in your eyes. Not because you're aloof, but because you're the keeper tonight, the one who makes sure the fire doesn't die, that the warmth doesn't fade. It's your quiet vigil, and no one questions it. The unspoken bond in the circle isn't forged by command, nor written in wax tablets or scrolls. It's formed by sweat, blood, and long silences shared in the dark. It's formed when a man hands you the last sip of his watered wine without a word, when someone throws his cloak over you in the cold, or when you wake up from a nightmare and find a hand steadying your shoulder. These moments matter more than the oaths spoken before the gods, because when the eagle's standard is raised again tomorrow, and the line is called to form, none of that camaraderie will be visible on your faces, but it will be there under your armor, laced into your every step. The quiet hours, these strange, sacred fireside moments, are what make the Legion more than an army. They make it a brotherhood, and under that flickering canopy of stars and smoke, you realize the truth. You are not alone. Asterisk, asterisk, dawn beneath the eagle. The morning begins, not with the sun, but with the horn, a low, mournful sound that ripples through the ranks like a command embedded in marrow. Even before your eyes fully open, your hand finds your belt, your mind returning to the rhythm. There's no hesitation, only motion. Tents vanish like shadows. Ash is buried, stakes pulled. The march begins anew. But something in this dawn feels different as the column winds down into a mist-covered valley. Dew clinging to your sandals, the legion moves like a single living thing. You are surrounded by hundreds of men, yet each step echoes with solitary thought. Thoughts of home, of letters not sent, of names never spoken aloud, of quiet hours spent under the stars, of bonds too deep for words. Above, the eagle standard rises, held aloft in the hands of the aquiloffer. The symbol of your cohort gleams against the newborn light. It's not just a piece of metal. It's the soul of the legion, and every eye finds it drawn not by duty alone, but by something more ancient: reverence, identity, belonging. You walk with cracked heels, bruised shoulders, and aching knees. Yet, the burden feels lighter today. Not because the path is easier, but because you've shared it. Every stone underfoot, every sleepless night, every whispered story, every look exchanged across campfires. They've stitched something into you that no enemy can cut free. You are not simply marching, you are returning to the world, shaped by silence and shielded by discipline and dusk. There is a quiet nobility in it, a nobility not granted by senators or carved on marble, but earned in the hush between battles, when men reveal who they truly are, not in how they fight, but in how they endure. You glance to your left, to your right. No one speaks, but their eyes, like yours, are wide open. This is the brotherhood of the eagle's wings, and under its golden gaze, the legion doesn't just survive. It remembers, it endures, it marches on.